Welcome to this bonus episode of the Sitcom Archive Deep Dive Overdrive. Periodically, from here on forth, we will throw in little bonus episodes of interviews we've had with interesting people. And I found an interesting person, didn't I, Al?
You did, yeah. Is it Joe?
Joe, my mate Joe, over here in New Zealand. He lives a semi-self-sustainable life, which is not the full Tom and Barbara, but a variation thereon, and it's actually embraces things like social media to help with that sustainability. So I sat down with him and had an interesting sort of 20-minute conversation.
Oh, I'm looking forward to hearing this because it's almost like Tom and Barbara in the future, isn't it?
Yeah, if they had dreadlocks
right.
even.
Oh, dreadlocks.
Dreadlogs. It's only a mini episode, so without further ado, as I've said before, this is what some idiots on Twitter think is how you say it. Further ado. Let's just play this interview I had with Joe. Alison's not in it because it was recorded in the middle of the day here in New Zealand, so
I was in
you
bed.
were asleep, weren't you? Yeah. So here we go, self-sustainable living in 2020.
Good life, good life, good life, good life, good life, good life, good life.
So this week, I've got Joe Simmonds with me, who's a mate of mine, over here in the beautiful Kapiti Coast in New Zealand. Joe lives a sort of semi-self-sustainable life, and he's actually going to be our very first podcast guest. We've never had one before, so I hope he feels honoured. Hello, Joe. How are you, mate?
Hey, Ben. I'm very well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
It's all right, man. It's good to have you. Tell us a little bit about why and how your self-sustainable life came about.
Yeah, I had, I'm not sure how much I can really go into it, but it would have been about 10 years ago. I had a very interesting experience one winter after some experimentation, shall we say, and spent quite a long time quietly freaking out about the state of the world, very concerned about a lot of things, you know. At that point, it was mostly oil related. I remember waking up at about 4 o'clock in the morning and having dreamed that I'd been crushed by a BP oil tanker that had kind of come around the corner and squashed me, waking up in a cold sweat.
Oil related night terrors. That doesn't sound fun.
Exactly. No, it was not. It was not good. So from that, I kind of thought, right, what can I do? What is it that I can do to something? Some sort of pragmatic approach to, you know, some practical implementable thing that I could do to alleviate some of that anxiety. And I thought, well, starting with learning how to grow food. My stepmom is an incredible gardener. Spent a lot of time watching her. Spent a huge amount of time watching YouTube videos through the night on how to work on soil, and got into permaculture. And
did you have like a small holding already where you lived, or did you have to go and find somewhere to achieve this? Because I mean, we live in New Zealand. In Britain, it's very small sections.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be lucky if you had a little allotment in England. My grandfather had one on the Isle of Wight, just out of Ryde, I think it is, on the Isle of Wight.
It's a long way to go to tend your allotment, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
I assume you live there.
24-hour flights to go and tend to my garden. So I was living just down the road from my mum's place, and I went and dug up every inch of lawn at her house. Yeah, whether she wanted it or not, and brought in about 3 or 4 ton of river rocks to build the edges on these gardens, and just in typical fashion went completely over the top with the whole thing. And
it was like a mania.
Yeah. I'm fairly obsessive with what I do. I don't do things in halves, as you've noticed.
No, I know that, mate. So I mean, it's a semi-self-sustainable life, though, isn't it? You've not gone the full hog. I know you're not familiar with the good life overly.
Yeah.
But these guys in the good life, they quit their 9 to 5, and it's just everything is growing on the land, living entirely off the land, out of the system. When he gets his tax bill, it's fuck all, because he's just aside from land. Yours isn't quite that extreme, is it?
No, the goal was always to dive in head first and to go that direction. And then more recently, there's a group that I garden with that catch up every Wednesday morning, and we go and work on each other's gardens. At the moment, we're building greenhouses. Through doing that, what we've realized is that the division of labor is actually a really important element to any level of self-sufficiency. So if you're trying to do everything yourself, you're at a hiding to nothing. It's just, some people can do it, right? Some people live in a hut in the woods and grow all their own stuff and hunt. But
takes up every hour of the day, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. Because we're not able to just be hunter gatherers anymore now that we have sprawling subdivisions, taking up pasture. So the idea is that if you can be self-sufficient in one thing, so self-sufficient in lettuces, for example, self-sufficient in broccoli, or self-sufficient in tomatoes through the summer months, and then you need to learn how to preserve things once you've got a glut, an overproduction of food to kind of even out, that stuff. So I'm not trying to grow wheat and be self-sufficient in bread, or I'm not trying to grow corn and be self-sufficient in corn. I'm just trying to start with a small group of things and nail that until I move on to the next.
And then these other people in your group, do you operate in almost like a sort of virtual commune in the sense that you would swap what you've each grown? So if you're the broccoli man, here's the pea guy.
Yep. yeah. There's we'll swap bags of pea for veggies.
Yep.
The occasional meth transfer. It's
I was going to say, is there like some things that you grow that you don't want to fess up to growing?
Is it the Second Amendment? I choose to.
Isn't it take the fifth?
Yeah, something like that.
The Second Amendment's the guns.
Yeah.
You don't want to come at me with the guns just for asking a question.
Yeah, growing guns in the backyard. Yeah, there are certain things until particular laws change locally. I should probably shut my mouth.
Well, we might be lucky in that sense because we live in a bit of a kind of socialist utopia to an extent. Mm-hmm. So you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, let me ask you this then: have you ever sort of kept animals? Have you ever gone that far, or have you been tempted with?
Yeah.
Because in the good life, the goods have goats, chickens, pigs.
Yeah,
that type of thing. How far have you gone with that?
We have 9 chickens. One of our chickens died the other day, but we have enough chickens to be able to supply eggs to our neighbours, which keeps our neighbours relatively cool with us having noisy, smelly chickens. They're not too smelly, but there's that. We have a dog that we keep for milk. We milk the dog regularly. Not really.
No, I was trying to keep a straight face. I was like, nah, fuck that. No. It's like that episode, have you seen that movie Meet the Parents where he's like, oh, yeah, I can milk anything.
Milk the cat.
Can you milk me, Greg?
Movie's great.
You've never had a pig or a goat or anything?
No, we've thought about pigs. The issue is that we're all vegetarian, so it's kind of, you get a pig for the novelty factor. My 4-year-old daughter absolutely loves pigs, but we just... even if we had pigs for a little while, in order to have them passed on to somewhere else for meat, I just wouldn't feel very comfortable about it.
In a recent episode we've done a deep dive on, they slaughtered the pig and then traded half the pig for another animal, and the rest of the pig they ate.
Yeah.
And then they had a pig pimp come round with a bull to impregnate the remaining pig.
Right, wow.
There's all sorts of drama. It's really interesting. I'm not sure how realistic a lot of it is.
Brilliant.
So, like with what you're doing, obviously being out here in New Zealand, COVID hasn't impacted us like most of the world.
No.
But did it give you a sense of sort of self-satisfaction and smugness that like, well, everyone else is fucked, I can live on lettuce or whatever?
Well, yeah, it was, I think there were quite a few, I'm definitely not a prepper, I'm not sort of building bunkers, but I think there were a lot of people with that particular approach who were quietly going, ha, told you so.
Yeah, I bet.
And it certainly made me feel more comfortable knowing that we have worked on the soil at our place. Because,
good quality soil's the thing. You can't just dig up your soil and expect it to be.
No.
Yeah, I get that.
That's the key, right? Is that, I mean, my approach with it at least is work on the soil, treat the soil like a living thing, because it is. You know, you're creating an ecosystem of microorganisms, and from there everything else does its thing. So from our point of view, it's like, well, if we need to focus more of our time, if everything really turns to shit with this pandemic, and we need to spend more of our time, like if we can't purchase half of the things at the shops, I mean, we can't. There's a whole lot we can't grow, but there's a whole lot we can, and it's really a matter of, I mean, say pumpkins. You know, you can.
Yeah, I guess.
You can't just suddenly grow pumpkins in a month, but if you're looking at a year, like the whole annual cycle. If you're planning ahead and you can grow enough pumpkin through the summer months, they store well, and you've got an entire winter worth of soup veggies. So,
and you've got that network that you can swap some pumpkins for something else.
Exactly.
Which is really the thing that I think is the most interesting.
Yep.
The goods didn't think that through.
Yeah.
They just had a shitload of surplus, and then they were storing it in fucking drawers in their spare room. I was like, that's going to get woodworm in it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, this is one of the recurring tropes in the show. They don't think things through.
Yeah.
They're new to it, and they've got this sort of like really great gung-ho attitude, and then they realise, oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's a common thing, right? There's a whole lot of people that... I have these conversations all the time where people are dead set keen on doing this kind of thing, moving, you know, buying 5 acres up, to Horo or north of here, out in the hills, and moving out and just going completely off the grid. And the thing is that we're not good for that. Some people can do it. You've got hermits that are out there. I like spending a lot of time on my own, but I rely on my, like you said before, the sort of distributed commune. You know, we've got our community of houses that we would like to have on a bit of land, but we're just distributed around the community, all growing our own crops, trading, working together. I think that's the ticket. You know, it's so much easier to maintain momentum and motivation that way.
I imagine it must be an incentive as well to not let people down.
Yes,
if they're expected.
Yes, absolutely.
Have you seen that Google map overlay that allows you to see where people have basically marked on there around here where we live, where you can come and help yourself to lemons and stuff like that?
I've heard of it. Yeah. That's using the Maps API, and there's a little app for it. The fruit surplus sort of thing. Yeah. I've not used the app, but I've heard of it, and it's a great
idea, but
whether
some people would. Unfortunately, there's always a minority of dickheads around.
Yeah, 5% of people. There's just a bunch of absolute pricks out there. You can't. Yeah. There's no getting past that.
Unfortunately, that's the world we live in, eh?
Well, most people are good, though.
Yeah. When I'm not being a horrible cynic, when I sort of take a step back, I'd be inclined to agree with you.
On that, actually, just quickly, there's my dad lives right next door to the orchard that he and part of the people from the community planted down the south end of town here. There's something like 120 odd fruit trees in this orchard. And I've had to put up a sign saying, feel free to take some fruit, but leave some for others. Because what happens each season is that someone will inevitably come in and strip the entire tree of every bit of fruit. And it's kind of like, I mean, maybe if these people are going hungry and they need to eat 1,000 plums, but like no one can do that without,
ruining their bowels.
Exactly. Yeah, there'd be nothing left of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's one way to lose weight.
Yeah.
Shit it all out in 24 hours.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, a diet of plums for a week.
Yeah, I actually quite like the sound of living on plums. I'm fond of a Black Doris.
Oh man, they're good. They're good.
I don't know, they have them in the UK.
Yep.
We're just two smoking New Zealanders sat here going, everything's fucking cushy here.
Yeah.
Now, I also wanted to ask you, there's a story in the UK a couple of years ago about this woman who made bread from her own yeast.
Did you read that? I've heard a similar thing with beer.
Yeah, I mean, fuck me, that's grim, isn't it?
Yeah, it's that's taking the approach a little too far, I feel.
Yeah.
That's
not what you're working on at home.
Nah, I'd be
What about making some brie from your own knob cheese?
I'd be lying if I said I hadn't considered this, if I hadn't spent time considering it deeply, but no, it's not happened yet.
Remind me not to eat at your place next time. Grace and the little ones, they're all on board with this. It must be a great thing for them as youngins to just realise that they can do all this, eh?
Yeah, my 8, almost 9-year-old boy Tui is relatively entrepreneurial. He's really into growing food and digging, but when he realized that he could sell pumpkins at $5 a pop, he could take my pumpkins out the front and sell them to people going past. He made something like $46 in an afternoon when he was a couple of years ago, and he was
So it's a $5 a go, and he's made 46. You got to wonder where the dollars come from.
This is it. Yeah. I don't know if he's rounded it up or down. I don't quite know how this worked. Yeah,
Is anything missing?
Right into it. I don't think so. No, and he, I said to him that a good portion of it has to go back into buying seeds.
Yep.
Same with chickens. So he can own a chicken, and you know like that's the next thing through the summer is to, because we have a surplus of eggs, is to sell some eggs out front. And because I mean that's the whole thing with money, it's like it'd be amazing if we could grow all our own food and not have to worry about the financial side of things at all. But realistically, I think the way to go is to grow as much as you can, trade as much as you can with other people, so you can specialize in the things that your soil and your skills are particularly good at, and then sell things direct to the consumer directly from your property.
It's mixing sustainability with entrepreneurialism,
100%.
which is the mistake that these two in the show never really learn from it.
Nah.
They're far too committed to their values of being out of the system. Just ultimately it wouldn't work. But it's great TV. Okay, man, I really appreciate you joining us and chatting to us about what you're doing.
Thank you.
And you're our very first guest, so that's a landmark moment for this podcast.
Oh, man, I feel honoured. Thanks so much. What's up to everyone that's listening? That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you'd have me back at some point.
Maybe you have you back when you've made your own bread from your own yeast. Tell us how
it was brie. It was brie.